I was the only healing type ability user left in the apocalypse. But after I died, the first thing I did wasn't save humanity. I cursed this world in the most vicious way possible. Before I died, I burned through the last bit of my power to seal the wound in the heart of the base's ace captain. Right after that, my own life came to an end. Then suddenly my body felt strangely light. I opened my eyes and saw my own body lying on the bed. I was floating in the air as a soul. I looked outside and saw the base's top commander, Colonel Zhao Wushuang, crush out his cigarette and glance at the scientist beside him, Dr. Lin. Dr. Lin adjusted his glasses, his eyes full of obsession. His body is priceless. We might be able to extract the secret behind his ability. Hearing that, I let out a mocking laugh. What they didn't know was, my final thought wasn't about saving humanity. It was the most vicious curse I could place on this world. After my death, every person I had ever healed would have their wounds come back with 100 times the pain, until they were completely consumed. The operating room door was pushed open, and Commander Zhao Wushuang and Chief Scientist Dr. Lin walked in. Zhao Wushuang glanced at the flatline on the monitor and didn't even frown. Confirmed death. The lead surgeon pulled off his mask, drenched in sweat. Colonel, we did everything we could. Mr. Feng Chaoyang has no vital signs left. Zhao Wushuang nodded and turned his gaze to Li Neng, the man I just dragged back from death. For once, there was a trace of warmth on that cold, hardened face. How's Li Neng doing? Mr. Feng Chaoyang's ability repaired his heart perfectly. Give him a few more days to recover, and he'll be the sharpest blade in the base again. Zhao Wushuang looked satisfied. Good. Handle Feng Chaoyang's funeral with full honors, and make a public announcement that Comrade Feng Chaoyang died heroically while saving our hero, Li Neng. The base will remember his service forever. He made it sound so noble, like he was really mourning me. But I clearly saw that relieved little smile at the corner of his mouth when he turned away. What I saw in Dr. Lin's eyes wasn't grief. It was the greed and obsession of a scientist staring at a rare specimen. Dr. Lin pushed up his glasses. Colonel, Feng Chaoyang's body has immense research value. Zhao Wushuang waved a hand. He's yours. I don't care what it takes. Figure out how his ability works fast. A strategic asset with thoughts of his own is too unstable. At least now he's finally under control. So that was all I had ever been to them. A strategic asset. And now that I was dead, they were even happier, because a corpse doesn't fight back. My soul trembled violently with rage. For 3 years, they kept me locked inside this place called Dawn Base like some tireless healing machine. Day or night, if anyone got hurt, I had to be at the operating table immediately. From soldiers grazed by bullets, to office workers who twisted an ankle in training, even the commander's wife's pet cat choking on a fishbone, they all needed me to use my precious power. They treated me like public property and used me up however they wanted. They praised me as a beacon of hope, while locking me down under the tightest surveillance, deep in the innermost part of the Institute. I asked the higher-ups for rest over and over, and the answer was always the same 4 cold words: the greater good. I used to think all my sacrifice would earn me at least a little sincerity. But only at the moment of death did I finally see the truth behind their fake kindness. Watching their phony little act, the last bit of goodwill I had left for humanity turned to ash. My funeral was grand. Zhao Wushuang even gave the eulogy himself. He squeezed out a few crocodile tears. Comrade Feng Chaoyang was a hero of this base, a ray of light in the darkness of the apocalypse. He traded his young life for our peace. A sea of people filled the crowd below. Every survivor in the base had come. Every face wore the same grieving look, like they'd really lost someone close to them. But my soul hovered above them, and I could hear their real thoughts loud and clear. So he's finally dead. If we get hurt now, does that mean there's nobody left to heal us? Keep your voice down, but honestly, when he was alive, our squad could go all out on missions because we knew he'd patch us up. Now that he's dead, we'd better be a lot more careful. Face after face blurred in front of me, numb and smug. I saw the middle-aged man who had once dropped to his knees in front of me, begging me to save his son after the boy got scratched by a zombie. Now he was complaining to the guy next to him. Well, that's one less god the Research Institute has to worship. Maybe us civilians will finally get a bigger share of the resources. I saw the young soldier I had pulled back from a coma after severe injuries, the same one who clung to my leg and called me his lifesaver. Now he was wiggling his eyebrows at his buddy. He's finally dead. Now I don't have to suck up to him every time I see him. I saw the clerk everyone called the most beautiful woman in the base. She once cried and begged me to use my power on her, just because she had a pimple on her face. Now she was standing in front of a mirror, happily touching her smooth skin. Good thing my face already got fixed, I seriously got lucky. So this is how ugly human nature can get. They enjoyed the peace I bought with my life without a second thought, while turning me into a joke. Out of everyone there, only one person's grief was real. That was Zhang Che, the guard assigned to watch me, a boy who had just turned 18. Every time he brought me food, he'd secretly slip me a piece of candy. In that cold steel cage, he was the only person who had ever shown me any warmth. Now he stood in the corner of the crowd with his head lowered, his shoulders shaking, tears falling silently into the dirt. My soul drifted over to him and tried to pat him on the shoulder, but my hand passed right through him. I'm sorry, Zhang Che. My curse might hit you too, because I remember the time you got your arm clawed while protecting me from a test subject gone berserk. I was the one who healed that wound too. After the funeral, Zhao Wushuang and several top officials went back to the conference room, and all the sorrow vanished from their faces in an instant. Zhao Wushuang rubbed his brow tiredly. Well, that's that. The show is over. Send the order down. Starting today, medical resources are being reclassified. All standard medicine will be tightly restricted and prioritized for combat personnel. Dr. Lin, how's the research going on your end? Found anything new on Feng Chaoyang's body? Dr. Lin excitedly pulled up a tablet covered in dense data, along with a dissection diagram of my body. Major breakthrough, Colonel. Feng Chaoyang's power seems to come from a special kind of energy inside his cells. That energy fluctuates with his vital signs. After death, it's dissipating at an extremely fast rate. We have to move now. I request access to every high-precision instrument in the base so we can run a full analysis on the body. Zhao Wuxuang nodded without hesitation. Whatever you need, make a list. I only want one thing. Copy his healing ability as fast as possible, even if it's just a weaker version. They stood there passionately discussing the research value of my corpse, and not one of them mentioned Feng Chaoyang as a person anymore. I had already become raw material, something to be cut apart and studied however they pleased. I watched it all coldly, without a ripple in my heart. That's fine. The fun's only just beginning. As night fell, the curse kicked in under the first weak strand of moonlight. The first one to show signs of it was Li Neng, the ace captain I had saved right before I died. He was lying in the base's highest-end private room, enjoying all the treatment a hero gets. A few pretty nurses surrounded him, fussing over him. Captain Li, how are you feeling? Li Neng looked full of life. His face was still a little pale, but he was in great spirits. He slapped his perfectly intact chest and laughed. Ha! I feel amazing. Like I could punch a bull to death. Feng Chaoyang's power was the real deal. Got my heart stabbed clean through and he still brought me back. Shame about the guy. Before he could finish, his face froze. Then he sucked in a sharp breath and clutched his chest. What the hell? Why does it feel itchy? A nurse hurried over to support him. Is your wound bothering you? Let me take a look. Li Neng waved her off like it was nothing. Nah, it's probably just healing. But the itching only got worse, like 10,000 ants were chewing through his flesh. He let out a scream that ripped through the silence of the room. The nurses stared at him in horror as a huge dark red stain quickly spread across the chest of his hospital gown. The skin where he'd clawed himself split open, and a gruesome wound appeared out of nowhere, in the exact same place and shape as before. Li Neng's eyes went wide with terror. He could feel a tearing pain pulsing straight through his heart. The heart I had once repaired perfectly was breaking apart all over again. Go get the doctor! The nurses turned pale and ran out of the room screaming. At that exact same moment, screams started erupting all over the base, one after another, like the opening notes of judgment. In the command center, a staff officer giving a report suddenly grabbed his thigh and collapsed to the floor in agony. 3 weeks earlier, he'd been shot in the leg on a mission. The bone had been shattered, and I was the one who healed him. But now the bullet I had dissolved with my power seemed to reappear inside his flesh, grinding through it wildly. The pain knocked him out on the spot. In the cafeteria, a soldier eating dinner suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. He clutched his stomach, his face full of disbelief. He'd had acute appendicitis, and I was the one who cured him. Now his appendix was festering again, faster than before. Even that middle-aged man who had complained about me was at home putting his son to bed when he suddenly saw the old scratch on the boy's arm, the one that had healed long ago, reappear. Then it started turning black and rotting, giving off the stench of a corpse. His terrified scream was swallowed up by the wailing spreading across the entire base. Panic spread through Dawn Base like a plague. Every person I had ever healed had their old wounds come back all at once, more violent and more painful than ever.